Yo, what is up everybody, Jay the Great here, and welcome back to another Naruto reaction video here today. And today, for the first time on this channel, we are reacting to a content creator named Dygoknight. A few of you guys have recommended this individual to me, and to react to his content. So, the title of this one, as you can tell, the title is Boruto just pulled the worst plot twist of the decade. So, admittedly, I already don't agree with the preconceived premise of this video, which is that the most recent chapter of Boruto's plot twist is a bad one. I disagree completely, actually. I think that the plot twist is one of the best creative writing decisions that Kishimoto has made in recent memory, actually. So I definitely want to see what this video entails of, and a few of you guys informed me that Dygoknight is not what you would say to be the most informed individual on Naruto, or perhaps not the most objective, right? So despite that, however, I'm going to be as fair as possible. I'm going to be as unbiased as possible and give Dygoknight a chance to explain himself. And either way, I'm sure Daigoknight's a great guy, right? He does content creation like the rest of us, and no ill will in this video. But I am predicting that this will probably be a debunk to some extent. But either way, Dygoknight, if you happen to come by this video, this is all for entertainment, and I'm simply just attacking your argument if I do, not you at all whatsoever. But again, simply just your argument, and that's all. But I am curious nonetheless to see what this video entails of. But before we begin, anyways, greatly appreciate it. Hit that like button, turn on bell notifications to stay updated with yours truly. And if you're new and you enjoy, man, you missed the kid, make sure to hit that sub button, because once you do, become part of the family forever. But let's not waste any more time, screen. Let's see what this video entails of.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Okay, so they did something unexpected in Boruto. Let's talk about that. Because I'm sure the Boruto shills are saying at this point that Boruto is the best manga ever made and nothing is gonna topple this plot twist. That it was the best plot twist in the history of manga. And it was actually the worst. No, it wasn't the worst. I'm exaggerating in the title because nothing is gonna topple Black Zetsu being the mastermind behind the entirety of Shinobi history, bringing back Kaguya as the worst plot twist in the history of fiction, but this one is a close second. So go on.
Alright, so let's discuss that point, right? Do I think the way that Zetsu ended up triumphing in the end was the best, specifically over Madara with the backstabbing? No, I don't agree that was the best course of action as far as the writing and the narrative's trajectory. I agree to some extent with that. Do I think it's the worst plot twist ever? Absolutely not. I think the way that it was introduced and displayed to the populace wasn't the best, but is nowhere near the worst plot twist in anime history or manga history or whatever the case may be. So that I do disagree with as well. I think that the whole Zetsu mystery and the whole Zetsu double-faced sort of persona was well done, right? I think that symbolically it was well done, and aesthetically as well. I mean, Zetsu has a white Zetsu form and a black Zetsu form, which also further illuminates the double-faced symbolic persona as well. So in fact, I think the whole Zetsu mystery and Zetsu conspiracy, which was exposed at the end of Naruto, was well done overall. I'll say that. But let's continue on.
Kawaki wants to kill Boruto because Momoshiki lives inside of Boruto and that's a danger for Naruto. Kawaki wants to protect Naruto, so he has to kill Boruto, okay? That's the main basic theme of this stupid little arc here. Kawaki fails because, yeah, everybody swarms in and then he runs away and then he's getting cornered. What's he gonna do? Ada arrives. Ada. This character. Ada arrives, Kawaki hugs her, they fly up in the sky, a beam of light erupts in the air, and Kawaki uses Ada to cast Kodo Matsukami around the entire world. That's basically what happened there. It was a Kodo Matsukami in a global scale. And what did Kawaki tell everyone to believe in with his Kodo Matsukami? To believe that Kawaki is Boruto and Boruto is Kawaki. Their places have been swapped in the story. Now they think Boruto is the lone stoner guy who got taken in by Naruto, and Kawaki was Naruto's son all along. Everyone in the world, with the exception of Boruto, Kawaki, Sarada, and Ada, they all believe that. Which is something very unfortunate for Boruto, because Kawaki was being chased down by the entire village because he attacked Boruto, and he also imprisoned Naruto, and nobody knows where Naruto is, which is something very bad because he's the Hokage, so everyone is after Kawaki. But now that Boruto took Kawaki's place in the minds of everyone, that's really bad for Boruto because everyone's gonna go after Boruto. Nobody's his friend anymore except for Sarada. What a shame. Okay, let's talk about this character called Ada. No, she's not even a character. I've always known she was a plot device all along, but I didn't know it was gonna be to that extent. The only purpose of this girl existing in the story was so that Kawaki could pull off this absolutely stupid jutsu that can affect the entire world so that Boruto can be the enemy of the world, essentially. She has nothing else. She is a horny teenager that wants Kawaki to do her really, really bad, and so she's just chasing after Kawaki. But anyway, that's not even the worst part about all this thing, because people are gonna say this plot twist's amazing, but it has nothing. It's so poorly done. The device by which the...
So, to be fair to Dygoknight, I will say this. Ida is certainly none amongst the best of antagonists, not even remotely close, in the Naruto-verse as a character. Clearly, as far as power is concerned, she's right up there with the most powerful of them. Arguably the most powerful, besides a theoretical Shibai Otsutsuki himself, and Damon possibly, right? But despite that, as a character, she's certainly very empty, not very complex or intricate whatsoever. And I've always thought that since we've been introduced to Ida, as soon as we learned of the very premise for her actions, which was being infatuated with Kawaki, right? It's very Sakura-esque, so to speak. And to me, that isn't even remotely close to the best motif or ideology for any antagonist, right? So I will give Daigo that point. Ida is nowhere near the best antagonist in Naruto, and certainly not the best developed character, narratively speaking. So I'll give Daigo credit on that. That I do agree with for the most part. But let's continue on.
Plot twist happens, aka the worldly Kodo Matsukami used by Ada and Kawaki came out of nowhere. Now, yeah, they established Shinjutsu a couple of chapters before, but we didn't know Kawaki had access to something like that. We didn't know Ada had access to something like that. And sure, Momoshiki was saying every time in every chapter, every page almost, "Hey Boruto, you're gonna lose everything, you're gonna lose everything." That was his broken record, man. He couldn't stop saying that. Of course, something was being prepared. Something bad was gonna happen to Boruto, but this jutsu doesn't make any sense in the story whatsoever. First, because gods shouldn't exist in the world of Naruto. It's just a stupid concept. Alien gods, why? And now, if you can change the minds of the entire world kind of on a whim, what's the point? Kawaki can literally rule the world. And it was so freaking easy for him to achieve that godlike status with his powerful jutsu. The scale of his jutsu, you can literally see the planet as this chakra radiates outwards into the universe, capturing the minds of every single person on the planet. And Kawaki just had to ask his simp to do that for him. That was the only thing he had to do. I mean, he didn't have to ask, he just used her as a vessel, essentially. This robot girl that was created in a laboratory. Now imagine if Madara Uchiha had arrived a little bit after the Pain arc, just because, and used the perfect Tsukiyomi on everyone without prep, without any sort of efforts, because it was very difficult for Madara to cast the infinite Tsukiyomi. He went through a war, he fought against a billion people, he had to complete various different steps to cast a jutsu of that magnitude, and now this girl can just snap her fingers. I am putting everyone under my mind control here, everyone's gonna think Boruto's Kawaki and vice versa. This completely diminishes everything the Naruto story led up to, and they don't understand that. One thing is for you to increase the power levels in the universe. This is expected. It's a shonen story. Another thing is to completely throw away everything you did by sheer stupidity in your power scaling. Like Kawaki is saying he's out of chakra. He used Sakuna Hikona 5 or 6 times, which shouldn't be that much, and now he's out of chakra because they needed an excuse for Kawaki to be tired and unable to fight against the entire village. So Ada can come in and then they can use that jutsu. But let's change pace a little bit and talk about something good. Today's sponsor, Squarespace.
Okay,
The best platform out there for you to create your own website. If you have a business
Skip
and they're
that.
looking for a
It's not the
place to sell
best
your product
moment to put
online,
in
if you want
a
to create a podcast,
ad, I'd say, but okay.
now let's go back to the video. Like, there's something wrong when your shonen anime, which is not supposed to be about aliens and planet killers and stuff like that, when you zoom out and you see the entire planet, that gives you really, really big DBZ vibes. When they bust planets and the attacks are in a very enormous scale, that's not what Naruto is supposed to be. Yeah, sure, powerful attacks that can...
Alright, so I noticed this commonality with Daigonites Premises. He seems to not very efficiently create a base for his premises. It's a lot of ad hominem fallacies that I hear in his rhetoric. Also a lot of emotional bias in his rhetoric, like this shouldn't be, this wouldn't be, this couldn't be. When establishing a premise that you want to be respected and somewhat influential, at the very minimum, you should attempt to create a base for that premise that is as objective as possible, right? So all this shouldn't, couldn't, wouldn't isn't the best course of action in creating that sort of premise, right? Such as you saying showing the planet on a panel of manga is stupid and that Naruto isn't about that. Okay, why don't you elaborate further instead of repeatedly repeating yourself via ad nauseum arguments, right? It's not the best course of action. What tends to come off the screen with these sort of premises is a knowledge on a more so casual viewer level, right? There's no disrespect. There are many, many casual viewers of Naruto and Boruto, right? In fact, there's perks to being a casual. You don't have to worry about power scaling. You don't even notice it. You simply just consume the narrative and go no further than that, right? That's fine. But if you're going to try and create the perception that you are an informed and knowledgeable anime content creator, I would say you should most definitely try to create a more objective based premise rather than a emotionally biased and clearly subjective premise that really has no backing even rationally, right? I understand when it comes to narrative analysis, empiricism isn't really utilized, right? Because we're not discussing X's and O's and power scaling. We're more so discussing thematic aspects that can be interpreted in various ways. That I do see, right? But however, you should use some rationality and some reliable rationality on top of that to make your premise more so respectable and influential to those who view it. All right, that's just my commentary so far, and let's continue on.
Destroy mountain cities, but there's just something wrong about you seeing the Naruto planet from afar. But that's not even the worst problem about this plot twist. The worst thing is, the concept of your main character becoming the enemy of the world is not a bad concept per se, but in here it doesn't work whatsoever. First, because we know the characters don't mean it. They are not actually after Boruto, they're being mind controlled essentially. It's not that interesting because we know that as soon as they find a solution for that stupid jutsu, they're gonna be, oh, Boruto is actually the good guy. Who would have thought? Mind-controlled characters have no agency over their action. Character agency is what makes a character interesting, so therefore, mind-controlled characters are, by default, not that interesting. That is one of the reasons why the mind-control trope has to be used very sparingly in a story, in specific situations, otherwise the story is not gonna be that interesting. And it appears that Boruto is constructing the entirety of its series after the time skip surrounding this plot point of every single character in the world being mind controlled, which can work as well, such as in stories like Attack on...
That's definitely extremely debatable and contentious, and from my subjective lens, the idea that a mind-controlled individual is by default not interesting is certainly incorrect. In many, many narratives that go beyond anime, we have seen mind-controlled individuals be some of the most polarizing individuals in the entire narrative of whatever narrative you are discussing. Let's take Dragon Ball Z, for example. Majin Vegeta was mind-controlled to some arbitrary extent. His moments were some of the best moments in the entire Dragon Ball Z narrative. Majin Vegeta was extremely polarizing. He was extremely emotionally appealing despite being controlled to some arbitrary extent by the antagonist during that time in Dragon Ball history. To say by default, mind-controlled individuals are not interesting is certainly incorrect. Now let's go to Naruto, right? The same verse that we are currently discussing. Itachi was mind-controlled by Shishui's Koromatsukami. Was he not interesting? I think that would be the most oxymoronic statement you could possibly use, right? He's certainly interesting. And he certainly was in that arc. Extremely. He was the very individual that stopped the Edo Tensei reanimation jutsu in the first place. And on top of that, he certainly gave lessons that resulted in great thematic aspects being visited during the war arc. When he spoke to Naruto during their battle before he was broken out of it by the Koromatsukami. So the whole premise that mind-controlled people are by default not interesting can certainly be contended with, and in all honesty, for most compelling narratives, mind-controlled individuals are actually, on the contrary, very interesting. Right? I think it depends on the narrative being told. If the narrative in its entirety is just not a good one, which Naruto certainly does not fall in that category, then sure, there are many things that are not interesting, not just mind-controlled individuals. So I think that take is somewhat short-sighted, and clearly, as evident by Daigo's rhetoric, it is dependent upon his emotional bias and subjective lens, which he should try to limit to, again, establish a more respectable premise. But let's continue on. I just had to chime in on that because I certainly disagree with that premise.
On Titan, but in that story, the focus is the entire people that have been misled by the alteration of memories. In Boruto, the focus will be on Boruto himself, the man whose memories are not altered. He'll know deep down the other characters don't mean it. Now, of course, he's gonna face dilemmas because the other characters will try to kill him, capture him, and they don't know what they're doing, but it would be much more interesting if the other characters had a valid reason as to why they were doing so, and not just because they were mind-controlled by Ada. If they had a reason that conflicted with Boruto's goals, whatever they are, because Boruto doesn't have a character really, but still, something that creates actual conflict, doesn't rely so heavily on a plot device, which is much more difficult to write than snapping your fingers and controlling the entire world, so this is not the type of thing you're gonna see in Boruto. And, most importantly, we do not care about Boruto. Boruto is a terrible main character that has absolutely no charisma. His arc is uninteresting, so when he is put in this very bad situation, we don't care. We are actively rooting for him to die, actually. This is not what you want, because if you build a character nobody's going to like, and you put him in a tough situation, people are not going to care about it. So it's very clear the author, which isn't Kishimoto, by the way, Kishimoto's not writing this thing, it's just fake news. It's meant for people to be excited about, oh, Kishimoto's actually writing Boruto, but he's not. It's just the same crap as always. They really wanted this situation to happen to Boruto. Of course, this was planned since chapter 1.
That's a very bold claim that the company that is currently writing the narrative is lying about Kishimoto's involvement. Can you prove that? That's certainly a bold claim. You're implying that the company is somewhat of a snake and lying to its consumers. You'd certainly have to prove that claim. I wouldn't just throw a claim like that out there and try to consider it absolute when you haven't provided any empirical basis for that claim. It's a little bizarre that you would say something like that. That's just my reaction to it, but that's very bizarre. I don't even see the point for it. Maybe to defend Kishimoto's honor, because you consider this plot twist bad. But yeah, that's very strange that you said that. Let's continue on, though.
I'll give them that. They had 79 chapters to build that up, and they couldn't do it properly because no one cares about Boruto being tossed into that situation because Boruto is a terrible character that doesn't really have any particularly interesting motivations. We don't care about Boruto's relationships with anyone in the story. We only care really about Naruto and Sasuke when we read Boruto. Naruto's gone. Sasuke is gonna probably fight Boruto now, and then Boruto's gonna kill him with the Momoshiki taking over his body thing. But we don't care about the new generation. We don't care about Boruto's friends. We don't really care about Kawaki that much. We don't care whatsoever about, what's his name? Mitsuki? He used his Sage Mode finally for the first time. He used Sage Mode and nothing really happens. It was the most lackluster fight. And obviously the Boruto fights are all terrible. But this one here, it just felt awful. I could even forgive this absolute asspull jutsu Ada has to perform to make Boruto swap places with Kawaki so they can use the situation, the story of Boruto being against the entire world, if Boruto was an interesting character that we cared about. Because obviously that was a plot device to make this part of the story happen. Even people that like the Boruto series don't like Boruto. You know that. Ada exemplifies what Boruto characters are. Every single character from the new generation, they are just little tiny plot devices sprinkled into the story to push the plot along without really being proper characters. Even Sarada is just a plot device character. The only two that are focused on are Kawaki and Boruto, and they are uninteresting, especially Boruto. The way he lost his eye was pathetic. It was just like Kakashi did in the past, but just in a bad way because Ikemoto cannot draw an interesting fight to save his life or interesting angles per se, so it's just absolute crap. And the thing is, that was their plan from the beginning, and they just didn't bother to build it up. Even the way it happens is just so contrived. Why couldn't you set up something more interesting at least? No, you have to pull off this Ada crap. It's so annoying. Subscribe to this channel if you enjoy my content. Like this video to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. It's gonna get a lot of dislikes from the Boruto show, so help me out with the likes here to balance things out. Watch this other video right here for more entertaining Boruto content, and thank you so much for watching.
Alright, that's that. I certainly want to give my thoughts on this video. Again, this is no attack to Daigo personally. I'm certainly trying to attack his arguments. Right, so the whole video and its very premise, again, was essentially baseless as far as reliable strategies of logic are concerned. I don't even know why he thinks it's a bad plot twist. The best explanation he gave was that it was stupid and that it was the ass pull of the decade, right? But what's ironic, right, is that Naruto, right, the Naruto verse has something called genjutsu, right? And genjutsu is one of the largest premises of Naruto in its entirety. The arguably strongest clan in existence, or that was in existence, utilized genjutsu heavily. Sasuke Uchiha, Obito Uchiha, Madara Uchiha with Infinite Tsukuyomi, Itachi Uchiha. Mind control was rampant in Naruto. That is the very idea of genjutsu, to make someone perceive illusion as reality. Isn't that mind control? Right, so essentially, if your premise is that mind control is stupid, then you think Naruto in its entirety is stupid. Not just Boruto, but Naruto in its entirety. If your premise is that, then you should be consistent with it and just classify all of Naruto as a joke, which clearly Daigo does not, right? So the premise was just clearly emotionally biased and extremely subjective, right? The whole narrative analysis here was abundant with ad nauseum arguments and circular arguments. Oh, this is an ass pull because it's stupid, so it's an ass pull. A lot of that. However, it's not even necessarily the overall premise of the video that I have a problem with, right? Because if you have a premise on a narrative analysis where interpretations and emotional appeals could vary, then that is fine. However, what I do have a problem with is the way the premise is constructed. If you have a premise in your narrative analysis of any such a narrative, and your premise is validly constructed with fair basis to your premise, then I don't have a problem with it, even if I disagree with your overall premise, right? Because that can vary from subjective lens to subjective lens. However, the construction of the premise for this video was not well done, right? The foundation is flimsy, and again, the logical strategies used in constructing the premise were not the best. Many fallacies, right? Fallacies are considered flawed logic. Hence, so the whole emotional reaction, I guess, was entertaining in this video, right? Which Daigo certainly had, with the many ad nauseum and ad hominem arguments that were presented in this video. But the base to this premise is certainly a one that can be questioned and dissected and nitpicked quite a bit. But either way, entertaining video nonetheless. And once again, just to reiterate, I got no problem with Daigo. He seems like a cool dude, and he seems like he's passionate about Naruto. I'll say that, which is good for any content creator. But there you guys have it. I hope you folks enjoyed my reaction to this one and enjoyed my debunk, I guess you could say, on the fallacious logical strategies utilized here. But it's going to wrap it up, folks, and I'll catch you in the next one. This is Jay the Great signing out. Peace.